Want to welcome everybody to the regular select board meeting for the town of Casco on March 3rd, 2026. We can start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the regular meeting. Number one, review and approval of the meeting agenda. Second. All in favor? Thank you. Approval of bills and signing and approval of all open warrants. Second. All in favor? Approval of minutes from February 17th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor? No, thank you. Public participation for non-agenda items.
Susan was on this South Casco. I would have been here a couple of weeks ago, what to bring us, we're talking about, but I had, some other things I had to take care of. Does anybody know what this is?
Yep.
Can somebody explain to me why we went with a yay or a nay vote on the town meeting? More clickers were not even functioning again. And we were handed these, to use with no explanation. And with the next thing, where they called for a vote, and it was a yay vote or a nay vote. And I was quite disappointed with that it went that way, because it was a topic that was kind of a hot topic out here in town at the library. And it kind of went to a yay or nay vote.
Sue, I'll address that. Tony was out of town. That leaves, I guess, me as the holder that day. There was some disconnects between myself and the moderator that night about, I had asked about if the electronics weren't working, that we would be using those.
Yeah.
And he still, as he started into the meeting, he opted for the yay or nay. But that was not directed by us. And it was his decision on how he was going to run the meeting that night. So just minutes before the meeting started, I talked about the raising of if that was the case, that we'd be using Daisy. He agreed, but that's not how it went down that night.
So what's going on with the clickers? That we always seem to have an issue.
Yeah, we recognize the same issues that you recognized that night, and we will be addressing that prior to our June meeting. And we're trying to figure out who is going to be responsible for that, and we will keep you updated. But there'll be a little bit of a changing of the guard, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other comments for non-agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 5, manager's update.
As previously mentioned, the weight restriction postings was posted last Thursday, which was February 26th. The town has received significant interest in the mowing RFP and has already received a few bids. All bids must be submitted by March 5th. I anticipate presenting all the bids to the select board at a March 24th meeting, and hopefully we'll have an awarding the contract to the determined winner. To say the recent storms have been a challenge. Unfortunately, 2 or 3 inches of snow ends up using the same amount of material as 6 or 8 inches. Compounding the problem is one of our trucks experienced some transmission issues, which was under warranty, got sent out to a Ford dealership and was rectified, but it took 10 days. So we had 2 storms during that time where we were operating with 2 trucks. So again, any roads that seem to be a little delayed that we plowed, that is why. Chris Bond helped as best he could, but he was combating some of the same issues we were. So that's all I have for this week.
Questions or comments on that from you guys? No? Seeing none, we're gonna move on to new business. Number 6, the select board will hear from Superintendent Al Smith about the proposed MSAD 61 school budget.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me to go through the budget. This year's budget is pretty simplistic. We don't have a lot of extras or frills or whatever you want to call it in this budget. I'm going to go through the 11 cost centers, and then I'll talk a little bit about the financial impact to the community. And then at the end, I have a query about some generators that I want to present to you as to what you may be looking at the school board level. So as we look at our proposed budget, the first cost center, Article 1, is regular instruction, and it's pretty self-explanatory what that is. It's the actual classrooms, as well as the gifted and talented, and English language learners, which we're getting more and more of those type of kids that need that support. As you'll see at the Crooked River Elementary School, we are adding a 4th grade teacher, and that is due to enrollment. Our enrollment has increased to the point where we will need that 4th grade classroom teacher. And I will share with you that I am seeing a significant enrollment in both the Songalocks and the Crooked River School. Just in the past 3 months.
Enrollment increases.
It increases. Past 3 to 4 months at the Songalocks School, we've added 22 students. So we are seeing that. So I'm not going to be shocked if a year from now you have me back here and we're going to have to add more teachers. The extended studies, this is an opportunity with our degree program at the high school level. Again, that's an opportunity, again, increasement. So we have added an ed tech that will help with that area at the high school. As you get down to the last line, which is our English language learners, again, our population is increasing with those kids that are coming in. So we have also added an ed tech 3 to help support that group of students. The other places that you may see throughout the budget that percentages kind of go up and they look significant, or go down. What has happened in many areas is kids have moved from, maybe they're in the elementary school at Songalocks, and now they've moved to Crooked River, or maybe they've gone to middle school, so that support that has kind of followed them kind of goes with them, or we've had an increase in the other direction. The other percentages that you'll see that are consistent are salaries and benefits. As we look at the special ed areas, we have very little additions to the special ed area. We do have a student coming in with some very significant needs, so we have added a health care person that will be with this youngster all the time. So that has been added to special ed. Other than that, our staff is staying status quo. As you get to Article 3, that is Career and Tech Center. That's our vocational pieces. And you can see that we have not added anything to that area. We are starting a new program, but it is going to be supported by the state. It's a pretty exciting program. I've been trying to get it off the ground for 6 or 7 years, quite honestly, and it's Marine Tech. We are going to be working with 2 local marinas, and the program will start out small. The marinas have been great. There obviously is a curriculum piece to it that they haven't necessarily ever dealt with from their side of it, so we're working hand in hand with them. But we'll start out between 6 and 8 students, and it'll be a morning and afternoon opportunity. And the reason it's morning and afternoon is we typically have our seniors in the morning and our juniors in the afternoon, but where it's a new program, it will be all first-year students. So we can do morning and afternoon, and then we'll look to hopefully up the ante for the following year, and then bring in new students the following year. So it's a pretty exciting opportunity. As you look at Article 4, which is co-curricular work, we have added a couple of stipend positions. Our band director is doing a wonderful job, and he's actually started a marching band. It's pretty small. Kids are very enthusiastic. He's actually reached out to Grade and Gloucester, and we're going to combine with them to increase the numbers. They're also excited to be part of this, so we'll actually have a marching band next year. The kids actually had it this year. They actually went to an event and combined with a lot of other schools. So I think we sent 16, 18 kids that went, and they were infused with a few hundred kids. So it was quite an eye-opening opportunity for them, and it was an excellent opportunity. We also have had a great success with Tom Cody has been doing a chess club on Zone, and we're just growing. So we're adding a chess club stipend for next year. In the athletic area, two areas that are in desperate need of support is we have a gator, and I'm sure most of you know what that is. It's kind of like an MTV type of equipment, but it's bigger. And the one we have is really struggling, so we do need, it might not be a gator, but it will be something that will suffice for that need, as well as baseball scoreboard has to be replaced. So that's the two areas that has increased. As you look at Article 5, that's kind of all the other educational pieces that play into schools, anything from nurses to technology pieces, to guidance services, to social workers, things of that nature. And we have not added any staff, so any increases are 100% salary benefits in that article. Article 6 is the central office where I live, and again, nothing new has been added there. And that's everything that's in the central office: secretaries, assistant superintendent, business office, so that's everything. Article 7, again, nothing new has been added for positions there, and that is all the other administrators at all of the other buildings. Article 8 is transportation. Transportation is absolutely becoming a challenge, I'll admit it. Buses are putting on a huge amount of miles. We bought 5 or 6 buses with COVID monies not all that long ago, and the lowest amount of miles we have on any one of those, and I think they're 5 years old, is 250,000 miles. So we try to get 350-ish out of our buses before we trade them. The salt is a bear. People have asked us why we don't rust-proof our buses. We can get more years out of them. We really couldn't, because we get to a point where the mileage has outlived the safety of the bus. And yes, sometimes the rust beats us out a little bit too. But rust-proofing a bus is not inexpensive. And you have one or two choices: either a very expensive process or another process that you have to do every year. And it just economically, we've got 25 buses, it just economically doesn't make sense. We are replacing buses every year. This coming year, we need 2 small buses and a large bus. It wasn't all that long ago that a big bus was somewhere around 85,000. A big bus now is somewhere around 140,000. And a small bus is around 125. We did pick up a couple last year. We had a couple that didn't pass inspection, not anticipated, and it wasn't worth fixing them. So we did end up getting a couple out of Pennsylvania through a broker that I dealt with over there. But the cost doesn't offset what we can get through a lease purchase with 3 new ones. So these will be lease purchased over 3 years. And then next year, I'm sure we'll need at least 1 or maybe 2. The place that we did increase our monies significantly this year is our facilities and maintenance. I think you all know that I am that person that if we're not taking care of what we have and it doesn't look good, I don't think we have the right to ask for more monies to take care of things. So we are getting at that point with facilities where things just need to be addressed. We have a water pump that handles our fire expression system at the middle school that is working, but it's really old when it's on its last leg. And that suppression pump alone is $75,000. And you guys deal with the maintenance all the time. It's just crazy the amount of money that some of these things are now costing us. We have wet ponds in all of our facilities. One at Stevensbrook is a huge wet pond, but what most people don't understand is underneath those wet ponds, there's drainage systems and there's pumps and things of that nature, and that one has significant repairs that need to be done to it. So this money is in there for that. We have cut back on our maintenance people a bit, and we're finding that we're not able to, particularly the high school and the vocational area, take care of the needs that are there. It's just, our buildings, and I love it, our buildings are absolutely used all the time, not only by us, but by community events and whatnot, and right through the weekend. So we just don't have the staff to take care of that. So we are adding another staff that will be, time will be split between the high school and the vocational and the adult ed area. We are putting in a new camera system at our high school. The camera system we have in there is 25, 30 years old. It works, but we use it a lot for a lot of reasons. And people are spending hours and hours and hours trying to divide things out. We had an opportunity to test drive a new system this year. It actually has less cameras but multiple heads, and it's amazing what it will do. You can actually put in what you want to see. So if you want to see kids with all the hats, it'll pull up an area and it'll show you just the kids with the hats. If you want to do a hood, you can do that. You can even do certain other aspects of it that are amazing and save us time, as well as the quality of the video is superior to what we have, as opposed to, I think I know that kid, and now it's very obvious. So that system will be completely upgraded. Our phone system in the high school, PA system, is literally the system that was put in 69, 70. It does not have any two-way conversation opportunities other than a central speaker. So we are putting in a phone line. It's just a PA piece. You can't call out on it, but you can call down to the office and vice versa. So if a teacher has to take a call, it's a little bit sensitive, or needs something else, they can use the phone or communicate back to them. So that will be going in also this summer. We are going to finish the storage shed. You may not know, but the storage shed was built. The one place that we didn't finish is the front side of the storage shed, where we actually have it plumbed. And it's plumbed not only for bathroom, but it's also plumbed for heat, so that we can use it for a dry storage area, as well as the other maintenance pieces that can be done and need to be done in a warm environment. So we will be refurbishing, or finishing really, the front side of that building. As you know, we purchased the land beside us, the Hazelton property, and on that property is a small house. We have rented that house, and we're doing well with that aspect of it, but the siding is in disrepair and it needs to be vinyl siding. So in order to keep the building, and the inside of the building is great. We've gone all through it, made some adjustments with the plumbing and things of that nature, but overall the building is in really good shape. But we need to maintain it, and in order to maintain it, we really need vinyl siding. Windows are good, which is nice. It just really needs that last little touch so that it will maintain over a large period of time. So that's also in that budget. And there's many other pieces in the facilities that are absolutely being addressed this year. We did retire a debt service, as you can see. That was part of the bond for the high school. There's still 2 other outstanding bonds with the high school. So that has absolutely helped our budget this year. When you look at Article 11, that's just other expenditures, and what that really relates to is when communities are requesting and using our facilities, it's really a financial piece to help with the cleaning and things of that nature. So that takes care of that aspect of it. Adult Ed, nicely to say that our Adult Ed program has grown significantly, not only from our students getting a high set, which used to be the old GED. We're up to about 33 kids right now. And we also have grown the enrichment program greatly. And with that said, all those things do cost money, so there is a little bit of bump in the Adult Ed budget, which I don't think we've increased the Adult Ed budget, I'm going to say, for probably 6 years. It's been stayed status quo, so it's just time for us to make those adjustments. I think the part that you're probably most interested in is the part that's highlighted in green. This actually breaks down what the town percent commitment will be. The actual school budget is up 3.57% overall. And every year, it's terrible how this budget works because we have a formula that we have to run all the towns through. And you can probably remember quite a few years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, Casco and I believe it was Naples got a huge reduction in the budget. But Bridgeton actually ended up picking up the entire added percent. I don't have any control over that. And last year, everybody got hit. It was about the same, but it was significant compared to what I've been able to bring forward as a percent of increase. There's two factors that play into this. There's obviously the school side of the budget, of which we put together as a percent. Like I said, we're at 3.57%. Your property values this year were significantly lower of an increase than you were a year ago. And actually 2 years ago also, and it's a 3-year average. And the next page kind of outlines that for you. 2 years ago, or 3, depending on how you look at your actuaries, you're actually up 22.6% of property value increases. Last year, you were up 10.4% of property value increases. This year, your property value increases are 2.7%. So with that said, you're in pretty good shape. Bridgeton, not too far from you. But unfortunately, Naples now has a much higher percent, so they ended up being in that place where their percentage of commitment would have been extremely high. So we've put in over $1 million of fund balance monies back in this budget to help play that percent down. Had we not put any fund balance monies into the budget, your percent of increase would have been almost 7%. So by putting those monies back into the budget, we were able to get your commitment for this coming year. I believe it's 3.29%. So I actually spoke with Tony, and this was early on, and I said, I think if you budget 4%, you'll be okay to take care of the school budget this year. So I think it's workable. I'm not sure what next year will look like. I never do. But I think that's a good percent of budget to present to you. And the next page is what I just went over. It's your state evaluations. You can see over the course of time what your state evaluations are. And it is a 3-year average. So you did drop off a 16.59%. That gets dropped out. So obviously when you're averaging in 2.72%, your percent definitely decreased that help how that formula works that we have to use. So that's the school budget side of it. The other place that I want to present to you is on the next page. It's a white page, and it talks about our generators. So if you remember, when we built the Crooked River School, we did put a generator in. Okay, so it's a warming center for your community. You can use it at any time, and it takes care of the entire building. 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago, we requested monies for a generator at the high school and a generator at Stevens Brook. And you kindly, and it was a separate article, and you kindly voted that forward. So we do have that generator up and running at the high school, and it now is up and running at Stevens Brook. The place that we need to absolutely attend to is the ESB building. And that really is kind of the functional heart of our facility, so why we've not gone there quicker than we have, I'm not 100% sure. But if you think about it this way, that's where most of our communications are for busing and all those things. That's where our maintenance department is. That's where all our buses are housed. That's where all the electrical grid work is to make sure the buses will run in the morning because we do have plug-ins for all of them. They're all diesel. We also have our vocational automotive center there, and we have our vocational construction in that building. So there's 3 different formats here that I've put out. If you look at the generator for just the ESB building, it's $165,000 for that generator. You can't just go out and buy these generators. You have to order them and they build them, but you have to pay for it, usually 50% of them up front before they'll start building them. So that is a place where I fully feel comfortable that the board will want to have a separate article for that generator. The other piece that I did put in here is we're not too far away from really needing a generator at Songalok School. It's our pre-K to 2 students. Do we have an alternate plan if we have power out for any length of time and we can't get the kids home as soon as we can because sometimes parents aren't there and we just don't drop off little ones without making sure the parents are there. So we do have an auxiliary plan with the river building because they do have the generator. I don't worry so much about the middle school. We actually have the generator at the high school now, and you would be amazed that when you lose your power, everybody has to go to the bathroom. So this year we did lose our power for a significant amount of time at the middle school, and the phone was starting to ring off the hook because everybody had to go to the bathroom. So I decided that I would help them go to the bathroom by sending down buses, and it took them up to the high school to go to the bathroom. Wasn't the best plan or the most ideal plan. Sometime down the road we would like to have some generators there. But it was amazing after they got to go to the high school and go to the bathroom, we didn't have so many kids that need to go to the bathroom anymore. It isn't ideal, it isn't perfect by any means, but it does work. And they're older kids, so if in fact we did have to send them home, we obviously make phone calls to make sure that it's okay to leave them. But most of them are okay for 3 or 4 hours until the parents get home. We cannot do that with the little ones. So I also have in here what it would cost to put a generator in that Songalok school, and that would be $245,000. And then I have what it would be combined for both of the generators. And I broke it down financially, and I broke it down by percent of what it would add to your budget. These generators are not built into this budget. It would be a separate article, and I'm kind of looking for a little guidance as to where you feel that you could live or couldn't live. And I'll get a hold of Tony at some point in time to see what your thinking or your thoughts are. But I will let you know that I'm pretty committed to at least putting forth a separate article for the ESP building for the $165,000 for next year. And then the following year, if we don't go with both generators, they don't get passed, and we just go with one, then I would be looking at Songalok School a year from this budget. So I just want to get that out there ahead of time so you kind of know where I'm looking and where I'm headed with the school budget piece. I do want to thank the Budget Committee, Finance Committee. As you know, putting budgets together aren't a whole lot of fun, and the amount of time that we spend putting these together and trying to adjust the numbers and what's a reasonable request from the communities, what that also fits with the needs of your school district. They don't always align, and you've always been great in supporting the budget. Last year, I'll be honest, I was a little nervous because the percent was more than I normally bring forward, and it was supported by all 3 communities. And I hope that you all here, TV land, support this year's budget as well. So Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Where does your student resource officer fall in this budget?
So believe it or not, it's kind of odd. It falls in under facilities and maintenance.
I just wanted to make sure that, as we know last year,
Right.
the
Yeah.
decision was made, we wanted it.
Right.
And
Yeah, it's a,
I don't feel any different this year than I did last year.
Right,
So
and it
I
is
think
in the
that he
budget.
does an amazing job, and I think it's the only way to go in that situation.
yes, we definitely still have it in the budget as well as our two dean of students are in the budget.
Thank you.
Other questions? Grant, you must have a question.
I do. You know, Al, I've got a couple questions. So I'm kind of astounded that we're coming in as low as we are, knowing the work that you folks do. And I get that we're spending a little bit more money in facilities, right? But and that work must be, you gotta chase that game all the time, right? Like that's you've got multi-million-dollar structures that require a lot of maintenance, and seeing like minimal increases worries me a bit, because I'm hoping we're not doing some delayed or whatever kind of maintenance projects or whatever.
Yeah, I don't believe we are. Again, we put a ton of money, over $500,000 for next year's budget into facilities. So we put a lot of money in there. The one place that we do need to do something with, and we are looking at hopefully getting involved in what they call a retro program that the state puts out for roofs. And we only have to pay, well, they pay 30%, we pay 70%. That revolving renovation fund is coming back up, and roofs and air handling equipment are usually the two biggies. So hopefully that will be alive and well. If not, that will be something that will have to be addressed another year from now. We haven't avoided facilities.
No, I know. I just want to talk about it out loud. That's all.
No, and I'm pleased that we were able to reduce it to where we were, but we also worked very hard, and we always work very hard when we see that one community is being, because of the formula, being hit a lot harder than another. So we've put in a significant amount of money. If you think about it, we put in $1 million, and we had a debt service retire of $700,000. That's $1.7 million. That it's taxpayers' money, and we put it back into the budget. That in turn reduces the commitment to the communities. What it'll look like next year, I hate it when we do this. We've been pretty even over the course of time. When you start doing that roller coaster ride, it's very hard on families, it's very hard on communities, but I'm feeling confident that where we are and what we're doing. And like I said, I think we're going to be looking at a different budget next year with a couple of teachers that we're going to have to add. We do have to do something with the Stevensbrook School with at least a portable a year from now. And I'm hopeful. I've been working with the state, and I think I have a way to get a 2-classroom portable that they will end up supporting. They won't support all pieces of it, some of the plumbing pieces and installation pieces, but at least the actual cost of it, I'm pretty confident. The other thing that's happening, and I hope this goes through, I don't know. You all know I've rattled the sword a lot as to our area gets really hit very, very hard. We are a low receiver, and just to give you an idea of how important socioeconomic monies are and our 50% special ed costs are. If we didn't get supported with those two pockets of money, and this year we're at a little over 51% socioeconomic, and you've got to hit that 50% threshold or you lose money, believe it or not. We would have been at about 3.5% state supported. And that's why, I preach filling out that form, please fill that form out. And a lot of people, because it's free lunch now and free breakfast, so they just don't think that's important. But that's where we get the majority of our socioeconomic disadvantaged kids. It's now becoming even more important because as long as I've been at this, and I actually been at this a long time, so I was actually at this before they actually started the 279. I was actually involved with Jim Ryer in developing it, but that has not been looked at in 20 years. Our index for cost of housing and things of that nature has put us at a .94 because it's regional. By regional, I mean Cumberland County. We live on the outskirts of Cumberland County. So to have a .94 regional index doesn't make any sense because we're competing with all these other districts for salaries, benefits, all the other resources that we need in school. So it's been a journey, but I am actually the head of the Finance Budget Committee for the Cumberland County Superintendents, which I don't like volunteering for that stuff, but I wasn't getting anywhere on my own. So the position opened up and I was nominated to do it. So for the last 3.5 years, I've had a little bit more of a voice, I guess, or maybe an angst to some of them. But now they have proposed, and we just met 2 weeks ago, a new proposal on the table for 5 areas. One of them being the regional index. And the regional index is a huge shift for us if it goes through. We are at a .94. They are now going to do a regional index by county. And the regional index, for the most part, of most of the other communities in Cumberland County is 1.18. So you can see why I've been so frustrated with the whole business. So that will now help us immensely. Socioeconomic is now going to have a tiered system, and so we'll be in a good spot in the middle of that. But with our special ed, 50%, and socioeconomic, we actually were supported at 18% this year with state funding. So people don't realize it's millions of dollars when that form is so important. So please fill it out if you see it. But with that said, I have a huge meeting with all the superintendents Thursday to go over that financial new package. And superintendent meetings, sometimes I go, sometimes I don't, and it's the same with other people. And I have not been to a meeting in Augusta in a huge conference room that's been filled for years. When I first started, they were always filled. A memo just came out a couple of days ago. If you have not already signed up for this, you will not be allowed in. And if you don't have your ID, you will not be allowed in. So it's very big. It's very important to all of us. And transportation is another area that I've spoken about. They pulled away a lot of the special ed support for transportation that we got, and they put it into the regular budget. That's not right. You know, we have 5 to 7 vans on the road every single day for special transportation, as well as 5 more small buses. We get subsidy for our vans, provided we're transporting those kids to special purpose schools. We don't get it if they're coming in district. Same with the small buses. There's something wrong with this picture. So that is being addressed. The additional adjustments are approximately $55 million added to the educational resources. The Department of Ed is on board with it. It is going to be presented first to the Ed Committee and then to the General Committee for next year. Where it will go at this point, I'm not sure. If you have a chance to do any lobbying on our behalf, I would love to see it. Testifying is not always fun when you go to those events, but those groups do listen, especially if you're not that person that is always there. You know, I don't testify very often, but when I do, I usually get a fair amount of questions asked because I don't go all the time, and I only go when I think it's really important. So I will be there off and on to help support this and move it forward. I hope it works because we're not in a great place for state support, as you know. And don't get me wrong, we live in a gorgeous place, but property values shouldn't be the rule of the day.
Yeah, I guess we're hearing from members of the public and our finance committee and everything about how to be more involved. And I guess if that's the answer, and that's the best place that local people can have an impact other than filling out the form for whatever. But we'd like to know what we can do to help you you know what I mean? To help our numbers at that school. And I know it's not about cutting teachers and cutting stuff because our student count's going up every day, but how do we, like, you know, and the next step for us would be to direct us how we can help you out.
Yeah, and I'll actually provide you with some notes if you want to go and present to whether it be the ed committee or the financial group, whatever, and however it works. I get all of those messages as to when that is happening, and I can get it to Tony and give you some presentation points. And then when you do go, if you do go, you need to have it written out. So each committee member gets your presentation, and then you'll be called up to present your presentation. Then they may or may not ask you questions of it afterwards. So that's how it works. It's pretty simple, but it does take time.
Well, over the next few weeks, let's figure out how, let's have another dialogue about this and further understand what we can do to support.
Absolutely. After I have that meeting Thursday, I will have greater insight to where the next steps are. My guess is we're probably looking at a month or two down the road, because now they're just starting to get their positions. So, any other questions? Anybody got any questions? No? Thank you very much. I've got a story right here.
I'm sorry, I'll get us started one more second. Back to, like, this has been reworked, but where did it come in at the beginning?
We were at, the school side was around 8%. Yep. And we looked at all aspects of it. Sometimes people have wants, not needs, and you have to look at the want versus the need, or how can it be reconstructed so it may be a need, but it can be handled in a different way. So we were just under 8% when we started. We ended up just about 3.6% really. So nobody got left out, I guess is a good way to put it. And we're not in a bad place at all, school-wise or budgetary-wise. But we did put a lot of money back into this budget, so you have to be careful how you do those things.
Yeah. I think it's important that we talk about the real math, you know,
And that's the real math.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I would love to see the formula adjusted a little bit more, because if you really think about it, all three communities are very close, social, economical, property values, but yet the way that formula works, because we have three communities, which a lot don't. They have one standing community, so it's one financial percent. We don't have that, so we have to put it through that formula, and then that property value, whatever happens, just skews it every single time. So, but there will become a point in time where we just can't absorb that. So, do you have a question, sir?
Sure.
Yeah, just step up so we can record it, Sam.
Sam Brown, Casco. You reference a form that needs to be filled out, and it sounds like the participation varies from year to year. I don't have kids in school now, so I don't necessarily know about it, but what can we do as a community to amplify the level of participation from the community? When does it go out? How is, you know, what education is happening around the importance of getting that form filled out? And it sounds like it's really important to securing additional funding, and if we can do something as a community to increase that, I think we'll all learn about it.
Put it right on that website.
So there's a couple things that have absolutely helped us. The state does provide us with the Medicare, Medicaid pieces now, so that we can automatically shift those kids that are in that pocket into that socioeconomic disadvantaged group. The form needs to be submitted to the state by October 1st. We do have a little leeway to go to the 15th. We try to get it done on time. We put a full court press on. We have families called. We send out multiple memos. We send out paper memos. We send out emails. You name it, we do it.
And so the form is for students and it involves the parents and their income levels and things like that
Yep.
are describing what
Yep.
population is the student body that you have to help support the money that comes from the state.
And it used to be easier because if you wanted to have reduced cost for your lunches and your breakfasts and or free, you needed to fill that up. Now, because we've gone to a no cost for anybody, the families don't see the need to fill it out. So that's been really our Achilles heel, to get that message out that that is still so important. And to get over that 50% is huge. It's just to give you an idea of the difference being at, say, 48.5% versus the 51.5% we're at, that's $600,000. And you say, how is that possible? Well, we would have lost 300,000 as opposed to gaining 300,000. So, and that's probably, believe it or not, 12 students that changes that percent. So it's really, really important that we get those back. But it is a struggle to have people really understand just how important that is to everybody, not only the school, but the taxpayers and the whole piece of it. So it is a challenge, but we do cartwheels. My administration team just hits the ground running. And there's a couple other ways that we can put some things in that have a checks balance system to them, but it's challenging. So, and we'll continue to do what we're doing and take the message out. So, again, thank you all, and don't hesitate to give me a call if you have any other questions that might come up that I haven't been able to address tonight.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, guys.
Drive safe.
Yeah, I will.
Moving on to number 7, the select board will receive an update from the planning board activities from the chairman, Mark Rock.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the invitation to come out. It's a busy board. I'd like to say publicly, just for folks in the audience, now and again, that the planning board has a unique role in balancing the rights and interests of property owners with the rights and interests of the town as expressed in zoning code. And that's the challenge every time someone comes in front of us. And so that's what we try to work to. We really rely on the professional staff in the town and really respect and thank Tony and John and Mary and Devin and Doug for all the work and support that they give us and the guidance that they give us. And the cooperation with the Safe Streets Board, the CPIC, Water Quality, and you guys, the Select Board. I put together a series of notes on an update. Tony, did you get a chance to email them? Okay, you've got them, good. And so let's talk about areas of code that we're working on first. We have 3 fairly sizable projects that we're working on. The first is streets and roads. There are 2 overarching goals in streets and roads. And the first is our CEO has expressed to us that he needs some help with some tools for enforcing road standards on properties that develop slowly over time. So you've got a large property, they've got a private road, and they subdivide it maybe one lot every couple of years, as they have a right to do, so that it doesn't really trigger subdivision. And so as they look at that road, by the time John gets out there and they're on their 8th house, he's got some roads that he'd really like to, when they're asking for that 9th property, he'd like something to be able to enforce code on that road, to make that road safer, to make sure that those folks have the access and the fire company's got the access that they need. So that's a really big part of the streets and roads. And what came to us as we were working on those goals was the Safe Streets policy that the Streets Committee went. And the goal there is to take from the Safe Streets policy anything that can be codified into zoning so that it can be enforced. When folks come to us with developments, applications, we can say, no, you can't do this because you're not following the zoning. We've had a couple of applications that went pretty well, except for we wanted to apply some of the aspects of Safe Streets and couldn't because it wasn't codified. So that's what we're working on there.
Thank you.
I can always count on you, Sam. Update to village code. I don't want to say too much about that, except to say that the planning board has been participating with the subcommittee on the village code. We've met a couple of times with resilience planning, and I think you're really going to get a solid, well thought out introduction to the details of that project on the 24th when resilience comes and gives us a presentation. So just wanted you to know that was coming and that we are working on that. And we've also taken a look, or going to be taking a look at the state law LD 1829. So that's a law very similar to LD 2003 that wants to increase property density and affordable housing in areas. We really don't know a tremendous amount yet, and so all I wanted to lay out for you was a timeline, a general timeline for what we're going to do with that. We feel like in the spring here, we have the time to train the planning board and educate ourselves on what this means to our code. It'll give us the summertime to try to draft code changes that might be required to meet the LD 1829 requirements. We have until July of 27 to meet those requirements. So an optimistic goal would be to present code changes to the town in the fall of 26, this coming fall. And very optimistic would be to have it on the warrant for the January 27 meeting. But I think realistic might be the May 27 meeting, any code changes relative to that. For upcoming agenda items, we have P&K Gravel have been to us for a preliminary consultation, had proposed zoning changes, and we discussed options at this first meeting. The first option was to add a new commercial zoning district in the area where their property was. The second was to add an overlay district. The third was to add a new zoning district such as quarrying or mineral processing. Or we could take the current CZA, which is due to expire sometime soon here, and extend it. That was an option. And taking a straw poll of the planning board members during that consultation, they tended to lean towards adding an overlay district. And so we asked Doug Webster to meet with the folks from P&K Gravel and lay out how that might look, adding an overlay over that. And that's what's on the March 9 agenda coming up here. It was the February agenda, but we canceled that meeting. And we also have Pete Watkins is purchasing Casco Heights. When Casco Heights originally came together as a subdivision, they had time constraints on when they could get certain work done and had applied for an extension sometime back. Now with Pete buying the property, he wants to apply. He wants to extend the extensions because he's a new owner coming on and he wants to move forward with that. And that also is on the March 9 agenda. And finally, we're newly participating in a regional planners group that's brings together the towns of Naples, Bridgeton, and I think Raymond to have their planning committee members meet and talk about common goals. And one of the things that they're aware of is the really high quality work that Tom and the Water Committee did on water quality issues. And so in the May-June timeframe, Casco will be hosting this regional meeting and we'll be working with Tom on those water quality issues and taking a look at how we might be able to work with them regionally. And that's really that's the full update. Any questions?
You have a couple items, Mark.
Sure.
So as you're, Tom McCarthy, South Casco, as you're looking at these new zoning, I would ask that you engage both open space and water quality. CPIC has started a subcommittee to look at residential zoning updates. And the biggest thing as we started looking at those
is how it impacts water quality and the open space.
Yes.
So as we look at how do we meet the state mandate, but how do we do that and maintain our open space and our water quality? If we can merge those together, that would be great.
I think that really, see, I think I'm close enough to the microphone here.
Sure.
We're both, yeah,
We'll
we're
do it.
here. I think both of those things, open space and water quality, are well highlighted in the comprehensive plan.
Yep.
And so what you just said makes complete sense about any zoning changes that conform.
The other thing I was asked to look at is the P&K gravel. I started looking at that. I just got some documents from the DEP.
Yep.
I'll have those to you and the select board hopefully by the end of the week, if not before your next meeting.
That would be really
And I'll
helpful.
plan to attend. What I did find out is that they have a retention pond within 200 feet of wetlands.
Okay.
They do have a variance for surface water runoff. It doesn't all go into the pit.
Gotcha.
And those are things that they didn't say. So
Right.
there's other things we need to look at, and we may want to take a look and say, hey, we've got to go study this. We've got time. Their zoning lasts until, I believe, 27.
27 or 28, yeah.
So we don't have to rush through to whatever they're asking. I think we really need to take a look at, again, open space and water quality as we look at what E&K would like to do. I mean, they're a good company, but we want to make sure that town stays safe.
I agree, and I think also key in that is knowing that we're dealing with essentially a residential district. It's
It is.
heavily industrial business.
And it's a residential.
Although it's a big business in our town. It's a quality family,
Yep.
and they've been doing good things for us. So it's balancing all those
It's
things.
balancing all those things.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Glad to see you. Any other?
I think that, again, with Tom's water quality committee, as much as going into what their work is, it only makes common sense to put this P&K project, I don't want to say into their lab, but make sure that they are extremely involved.
Yes.
And I've been going to their water quality meetings, and they're doing an amazing job. And the town is in real good shape. It's going to be in good shape because of them. And I just want to make sure we keep that ball rolling with anything we do that concerns water.
Yeah, it's really critical for this town to be concerned about that. I mean, as we're looking at growth or we're looking at density, this is a town that has no public water, no public sewer, and a very great reliance on this water natural resource that's around us here and protecting it. So those will be key. Anything else? Yes.
Thanks, Mark. It just brings up a point about the water quality ad hoc committee that we have in place right now. And I don't know, I was gonna ask Tony, I guess, is what power does that ad hoc committee have in the process of reviewing? And I just wanna have the conversation, again, out loud, I guess, in reviewing a planning board applicant that's dealing with water issues.
Right now, none.
Right now, none.
Right.
Other than being a resident of Casco and having a personal voice. Again, we have asked to be changed to a full-time committee from an ad hoc, and there's really no reason I know that can't be done sooner rather than later. As far as becoming a commission, that we've already talked about, that may take a little bit longer. But it could be established tonight if you guys voted that way.
I think the good thing is that even though, they're in the situation they're in, it's still giving us several sets of eyes that may pick up on something somebody else might miss. And I think that, right now, to me, that's probably one of the most important things.
I agree with you. I think that, the very reason that there's public hearings around changes like this is really to crowdsource expertise. And while the water committee itself doesn't have power, people on the water committee have expertise in helping us find those DEP pieces that might not be met as they should. I think that's critical.
So that discussion about, to talk to your point about like committee, commission, and that lineup, we have an executive session planned for this evening with our attorney to talk through this process and make sure that we're following those steps properly and getting that in alignment. So perfect, we'll have that answer. Any other questions for Mark? Sam?
Sam Brown, Casco, and Open Space Chairperson. I'd just like to take Tom's somewhat rhetorical question and follow it a little further when he said, you know, I don't see any reason why we can't. The real question in the room is, water quality is the most important thing that came out of the work from the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee. It was the #1 priority for the work that we identified when we started the committee in June of 2024. So we're 18 months into it. The committee, Water Quality Ad Hoc Committee, has done incredible work. Everyone talks about it. We have not given the town, the community, the planning board, the teeth to actualize the bones of the water quality plan. When are we going to do that? And to Tom's point, why can't that happen now? Why can't an action be taken on behalf of the board that says, we're going to make this a committee, and we're going to give them the teeth to support the work that Mark and the planning board are doing to protect our water, so that future decisions around the planning board are taking into consideration this well-written, thoughtful plan that is grabbing the attention of other communities. Let's be a leader in resilience and planning for protecting the most important thing that we have as a community, which is fresh water. So I'm asking the question, not rhetorically, but specifically, and Grant, maybe you can help frame an answer about what it would take to see something actually put into place that puts the rubber to the road.
I was like, part of that has to go down to code introduction and do an aspect for certain parts of the code for the plan. There are aspect making committee advisory in that aspect, this board can do, but if you're gonna do an enforcement type of body or review, that would be a codes type of change. And again, right now, they can give advice to planning board, but planning board also needs the teeth to say, here's something in zoning that we can enforce during the review process.
We're this close to that being a committee. They've requested to become a commission, and all of the pieces of what that ad hoc committee has requested, we're trying to weave into a time frame to get us ready to take the bigger step, right? And we want to understand clearly what that process needs to be, Sam. So I'm not a fan of kicking it down the road, but we need this meeting tonight with our attorney to kind of talk about like this process and have a clear understanding of what the steps are. And Tom's outlined it very clearly, but we want to just make sure that the dialogue is being had so we can lay it out to the townspeople about what the steps are going to be and how they're going to, and when they're going to happen.
But we don't want to have to come back and do it all over again. We're going to do it right.
Thank you. Appreciate the response. I'm on behalf of my role on comp plan and open space. I'm asking that we do keep the verb in the actual and not in the neutral.
Yep.
I also recognize, when Tom and I have had conversations about this, that we adding new committees to the community is not easy when the volunteer pool is not increasing. We're doing a lot as a community to try to rally to get more volunteers, but you see it, virtually the same people in the room over and over again. So down the road, when we get to a point where we realize maybe it's not a new committee, but maybe we, as the tasks that need to be addressed come up, maybe we look at taking the existing committees and assigning those committees some of those responsibilities. So to that end, I just want to say, on behalf of Open Space, we are in lockstep with the priorities around water quality. We've asked that the Resilience Planning Group incorporate the water quality bones into our open space plan, and thank you, Grant, got the hook.
Sorry, there's still a lot on our agenda.
I know. I would also just add, just really quickly to Sam's question, that this project of doing the village code is training wheels for taking what's in the CPIC and codifying it into zoning for things that we can do and make better about our town. And once those training wheels come off, the piece of implementing what's in the CPIC will pick up.
Stop, thank you.
Good?
Perfect.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks, Ed.
Moving on to number 8, the select board will discuss community choice aggregation with Halsey Snow.
You're gonna stand there, but present. You're gonna speak? I guess so. You guys have it before. I did not know. It was a packet. Okay.
Thank you for the time to talk with you this evening. I appreciate it. Hopefully this is not going to add something more to your workload. My intention is primarily informational, but at some point it does turn into an ask. And so what I'm talking about is something that actually 2 years ago I knew nothing about. I'm part of a small group called Maine Gridworks, which is a Maine-based citizen action group focusing around energy in the state and trying to make sure that our energy choices are in alignment with our climate choices. And so this is a program called Community Choice Aggregation. It's actually known by different names. And it exists already. Okay, I'm not getting that one up. Here we go. It exists already in Maine law, and there's a bill in the legislature currently to correct some of the difficulties that the current law has in place. The first part here has to do with the values of the group that I'm working with, which is at the top of the page that I handed out, the Maine Community Power Alliance. So, and it's about saving money and local control of the electricity supply in an area, okay? So more local control, nonprofit management of supply, increasing greenhouse gas free energy use, and saving money for distributed energy. So it's part of the whole, the energy system is complicated, and you probably know there are at least 3 or 4 major pieces to it. There are those who generate the energy, and then there are the transmission companies who transmit that to, and normally we don't hear anything about those at all. And then there's the local distribution company, which we know of as CMP, right? And they do the billing for everyone in the system. And then there's the regional system operator called the ISO New England, which sits down in Holyoke, Massachusetts. And they're responsible for a number of things I'm not going to go into. But one of the things is they manage the regional system, the transmission system, not the local distribution. This program is about, This program is about getting a local community like Casco to become, in a sense, our own utility, not the generator, not the distributor, but the purchaser of the power. Now, right now, that is distributed individually to each one of us as a power user. And you have your choice. You can sign on every year to the standard offer, which is put out by the Maine Public Utilities Commission, or some other what's called competitive energy provider. Maybe you get something from, I know we belong to a solar farm through Ampion, okay? Now Ampion is a generator, and they sell electricity wholesale on the market. This was a real awakening for me, learning that there's a wholesale electricity market, which exists in Maine. That's what the Maine Public Utilities, buys electricity on behalf of everyone who signs up to the standard offer. On behalf of them, they set the price, it goes into your electrical bill. Community choice aggregation is a program that already exists in many states, 8 to 10 states, including New Hampshire, by the way. New Hampshire is way ahead of us on this one, okay? Where a community like Casco can decide to become the purchaser of electricity for everyone in the town. There's legal things that go on in that area. So this is what, this is what really describes what it is and what it is not. Okay, so the utilities continue to own the infrastructure. There's no upfront capital investment on our part. The state already has enabling law. As I said, there's a current bill in the legislature, LB 2112. There's two problems with the law the way it stands now. One is it's what's called an opt-in approach. If we decided to do that tomorrow and we set it up, people would have to say, well, I want to be part of it. And a lot of people, it goes right over their head. How many times do you think about your electric bill other than when you have to pay it? So shifting that so that everybody is automatically in, it's called the opt-out approach, and you have the freedom to say, I don't want to be part of it. Okay? And the other issue with the current law is that utilities have veto power over whether or not the town can do that. So we're trying to correct that, okay? There's a couple of different ways to approach this, not to get into that tonight. As it says, joint powers agencies. This is something that does exist if you have a large business or an industry here in Maine. You don't buy your power through the standard offer like we as residents do. You get it from what's called a competitive energy provider. And they are companies, businesses, some are nonprofit, some are for-profit, that go onto the wholesale market and purchase energy on behalf of their customers. And they get better rates. They get better rates than you or I can get. Because they're bulk purchasing. That's why. So, in this arrangement, you can see the PUC sets the renewable portfolio standards. We would be the ones that set the renewable portfolio standard for Casco. Okay? So it's more flexible, it's more local based, it's a way that we can start to take a little more control over our energy future. As I said, other states are doing this. There's a list of them. A bunch of states are considering it, including Connecticut, close by. And you can see it comes under different names. So if you read something in the paper or you hear something about it, it wouldn't necessarily always be called community choice aggregation. That's a general term. And there is, by the way, a national group. It's called Lean Energy US that's there, that is like a support organization for states and towns and groups that want to set this up around the country. And we've been working with them. Here's just a little breakdown. This has been going on in Massachusetts for quite a while. You've got 199 cities and towns in Massachusetts that are involved in this, and they're not all active with it. In New Hampshire, I think since 2019, it has really taken off, again, because they made some changes in the enabling legislation. And now you've got 77 towns in New Hampshire that are part of what's called the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire. They purchase energy on behalf of their towns at a discounted rate because they're buying a lot of it. And they save people in those towns money on what they pay for electricity. That's how it works. Okay, this is a little bit more breakdown on the states. I'm trying to move through this kind of quickly. This is a really key thing to look at here, okay? This is a graph which shows in the last 3 years how electricity prices have changed in New Hampshire, just as an example, as a result of the Community Power Coalition coming into being, 77 towns coming together and saying, we're buying our electricity through this nonprofit organization that we actually have ourselves. It's our organization. You see what's in the gray shaded area there? Those are the standard utility rates that people were paying. And there, as you can see, back in early 23, Community Power Coalition set their rates lower. As a result of that, utilities lowered their rates. Community Power could lower their rates even further. Utilities continue to respond by lowering their rates. So everyone in the state benefited, even if they weren't a part of the Community Power Coalition in New Hampshire, because it's a new competitive, you could say, force in the electricity market right now. And what you can see at the end, well, it doesn't show it yet, it shows it there. Utilities, the distribution utilities like CMP and Versant, say, oh, we're neutral to this. It has nothing to do with us because we don't buy energy, we just distribute it. Why then would they lower their rates to a point to try to undercut, you know, the nonprofit Community Power Coalition? Because that's what's going on now in New Hampshire. Anyways, everybody has saved money, on the purchase of their electricity through going this route. So this is what I'm here to present. It's an idea, like I said. It's something that we can pursue as a town. There are actually 6 to 10 towns in the state of Maine that are already doing something similar to this. Not exactly like it, but in other words, they're their own utility, like Freeport you may know of, or the towns that are up there close that actually don't get their electricity from the New England grid, they get it from New Brunswick. And Madison's another one. I mean, there's a few different towns that have their own utilities. They're not generating their own energy, but they're doing something similar to this. So there we go. And there's some organizations. Questions?
Go ahead, Tom.
Tom McCarthy, South Casco. Obviously, the devil's always in the details. So are the towns buying this on the open market, or do they have set rates for a period of time?
As far as I know, it's set rates for a period of time, which is the way everybody's doing it.
Well, a lot of these co-op types buy on the open market. So a couple of years ago, West Texas had that big ice storm, and their grid almost crashed, and they were having to buy electricity on the spot market, and the prices went up over 1,000%. So those are the kind of things that we would need to look at.
Exactly.
And then who in the town has to manage it?
Well, that would be something we would decide.
Okay. And we have an idea of what kind of staffing?
Not at this point. This is just a preliminary,
Right.
informational, just to make you aware this is available. I don't come here tonight with a specific ask.
Okay, I'm just saying that
Yeah.
there's a lot behind buying, generating,
Oh, yeah.
and getting electricity to houses. Do they do net metering for people who have solar? Are you gonna do that?
People who have solar can do net metering.
Right, but if you have a co-op, will the co-op support net metering?
I can't see why they wouldn't, but that's a good question.
It's another
Yeah.
administrative role that has to happen.
Right. Exactly. I think you're a little further down the road than I am, Tom.
Okay, I'll sit down.
No, that's okay. Any other questions? I mean, have you heard of this before? Are you aware of it? Tony said he only knew enough to be dangerous.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, Halsey, and you had emailed us a handful of times, and I felt like it was just a dialogue I wanted to have
Right.
in an open meeting, so.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll be perfectly honest, I do not stand here as an expert on it, as you can hear from my responses to Tom. I'm still learning as well, but I do think, this is, if the bill that's currently in this legislature passes, then it's like It's open market, go ahead, go for it. And I figure, why can't Casco be in front of it all? And my colleagues on this group, one is in the town of Scarborough and one is in the town of Wells. And, unless someone like me comes and tells you about it, it doesn't happen, kind of. So, anyhow, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Thanks, all.
Number 9, the select board will consider delegates to GPCOG's annual meeting.
Again, that is being held on May 28th, is the General Assembly. Mary Fernandez does need to represent the town because she is on their executive committee. They are requesting that the board identify one other delegate and and if you choose to, one alternate. Last year it was Mary and Jean who were the two there.
As the chairman, I'd like to go myself, so that's okay with you guys.
Yeah. Sounds good to me. Because it's not.
We're gonna move on then. Because I have to, needs to be a motion.
Say so moved in second, now comment. Move. Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to number 10, the select board will discuss the preliminary budget being presented by the town manager.
Well, considering I now have 8 minutes to present it, this is going to be a higher than 30,000 foot look at it. Again, I will say, I was hearing Al talk a little bit and saying, can we have a little bit more time for our dialogue? But then in hindsight, sitting here, I'm thinking that's probably time well spent, considering if you don't realize the school budget represents about 63-64% of our mill rate. So that's probably a very productive use of time here. As Al described in his process, they started at 8% and got down to in the 3%. This is the initial phase, so this is starting from ground zero. I will say, as staff and I worked on this budget, there are several things we had to really consider, what I would call key factors. One was increasing our capacity to meet what the community's needs and requests are. Other part is maintaining a safe and effective supporting work environment for our employees, continuing the upkeep of our town infrastructure, also understanding that we're trying to meet the needs of what our comp plan has said. Last but not least is, and equally important, is understand the implications that it does have on our residents. So the goal throughout the process was trying to deliver essential services while remaining mindful of the monetary impacts. The board just got, and the finance committee got the books tonight, so I'm going to give a quick synopsis. Town staff went through and what their recommendation was for operational aspect came to $6.2 million is what they requested. Again, we come down to the dialogue of wants and needs is what we're looking at. What I'm presenting to the board tonight is a recommendation for a $5,849,187 operating budget. That's operating, not capital, which represents a 3.58% increase. The biggest challenge when you start looking at this, and when we get into next week's actual workshop where we get into the devil's in the details at those meetings, you're going to find out some of the dialogue that will be challenging for the board and the finance committee is going to be in this budget request is a request for increased staffing in public works and with fire. The chief requested that 2 per diem employees be changed to full-time and have a assistant chief's position added to it. In my recommendation, I recommended one of the per diems be changed to a full-time and the assistant chief's position. In public works, when you get to the dialogue when we deal with public works, you'll see that I have 2 budget requests in there. Recommendation is hiring staff and going that route, which actually decreases the operating budget, but would increase the capital budget. The reason why it decreases is we would take over another 10 miles of plowing, which would then save the town about $100,000 for that. But then it comes down to weighing the facts of capital compared to operational and organizational needs. Another part, when you start looking at any of these dialogues about the operational aspect, you're really going to see any personnel increase is compounded by benefits. What you're looking at, benefits can represent anywhere from 30 to 40% of the overall package for an employee. So if you, and I say, get 4 new employees, there's 4 new benefit packages. So those are dialogues that need to happen. One part I did hear, and I know it's going to raise some eyebrows, and I understand that, is when you look at what donations for nonprofits, I eliminated from my proposal totally. And it's twofold. I think my responsibility to the town is to ensure that the infrastructure and the operation of the town comes first. That is my foremost aspect. With the understanding that there are a lot of good work done by these communities that are in there. My code of ethics as a manager cannot allow me to have any type of political affiliation in determining which organizations I would support or not support. So either in my budget I have to do one of two things. Support all of them completely or say none of them completely. I chose this route to facilitate the dialogue with an understanding there'll probably be at the finance committee level and the select board level some putting that back. The one thing I do want the public to be aware of when we deal with nonprofits, this year's request was just over $166,000 in town funds for the nonprofits. That represents about a 20% increase since FY25. So again, it's just becoming more and more requests for this. This year we had 7 new requests, and they ranged anywhere from $12,000 to a few $100s, so they vary. The biggest challenge I believe we're going to face in this dialogue coming up, and again, is going to be capital. And again, what you start looking at again is, and I've heard you asked to Al about it, is we have to maintain what we have. This is not building new construction, this is maintaining what we have. You'll see that when you get into the capital aspect of this, there is, $1.3 million in requests for capital. I've whittled that down to, let's say, $900,000 in new taxes to be raised. But that is a dialogue that we have to learn. What does they want? What does it need? Most of what I believe we presented is needs, not wants. But it's going to be a challenging dialogue, so it will be a challenge with that. The one thing that we've been very fortunate to in the past is financially, we've been using unassigned funds to do a lot of capital projects. The last audit I have is FY24. They're still working on FY25. We had $4.8 million in unassigned funds. In the last 2 budgets, we have allocated over just $850,000 to $900,000 towards expenditures. So until I have a better number on what are unassigned funds, I'm very hesitant to start using that for capital projects. So my educated guess, we're at about 3.7 million in unassigned funds. We should be at 3.4 million. So what you'll see in my budget, I'm recommending a conservative $320,000 towards 2 projects in there. But again, these are all going to be, the devil's in the detail, and once we get into the workshops, I think we'll have some healthy dialogue and help develop what priorities are going to be for the community.
Any initial questions?
Not yet. Monday will be interesting.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, we have next Monday and Tuesday workshops between the Select Board and the Finance Committee, the following Monday and the following Monday after that. One thing staff and I are doing a little bit different this year is we actually have it on our agenda software on our webpage, so anyone can click on that and we'll see what items are being discussed at that meeting, any of the supporting documentation with it, so the public can have as much access as they want to it.
So the Select Board Finance Committee are meeting both Monday and Tuesday evening.
Correct.
Yes.
That's why we had our meeting tonight in the snowstorm.
Yes. Come on, we live in Maine.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. That was just letting the people that were coming out to hang out with us tonight know that this meeting needed to happen.
Yeah.
No questions?
No,
Okay.
Not yet.
not yet. There will be.
Moving on to number 11, the select board will discuss the willingness of naming the Roosevelt Trail Bridge over the Crooked River for veterans.
I would recommend this be tabled. I have not had any dialogue with Naples manager whatsoever. I got an email saying that they've had a dialogue, but I'd like to confer with them before presenting any further.
Okay. Moving on to number 12, the select board will discuss the priority of conducting policy reviews.
Again, this is one of those, it's more informational, and again, there are several of them that range from over 20 years old to some that are very new. Again, this is just one for, if the board can sit down, digest it, and come up with a priority list for us to start reviewing and present updates would be greatly appreciated.
Okay. Got some homework to do.
Most definitely. 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly, that's my thoughts.
Okay, so moving on, number 13, the select board will discuss community engagement opportunity for all board and committees on May 2nd.
Yep. A plan, again, this came from CPIC, has came up with this, and Safe Streets, and find it a great opportunity, is they recommended that we, and again, I think they mentioned it at their last meeting, they would like to actually have a community outreach opportunity when they do the bike rodeo, and invite all boards that are active in the town to set up a table there. And again, this will be the opportunity for each board to, or committee to present what's going on, try to get some additional community engagement, and hopefully facilitate some more volunteers or more interest. I can say one group that I know would be using this opportunity is the work group that is for the Berry properties to start doing some outreach, say, are you interested in, 5 different items out there, so to have that initial engagement to work forward. So again, it's going to be on May 2nd from 1 to 3 at the Crooked River Elementary School, and it coincides with the Casco Safe Streets Bike Rodeo. So again, the board has voiced their support of it when it was presented, and just want to make sure everyone is aware that it's coming. And the invite has already been handed out to all the boards to participate.
And just to follow up with that, we do have a combined meeting happening on the 31st, is that right?
Correct.
Yes. All committees?
Yes, all committees have been invited.
Great. So there'll be some discussion about that May 2nd event at that time as well. Number 14, select board comments. Eugene?
I haven't heard this time.
None. Eugene. Scott?
I'm good.
I think in consideration of time, I'll have none tonight also.
Okay. I've just got a couple. Last week I was involved in a sort of chairperson roundtable with GPCOG involving, the topic was communication and how communities are doing it. So, and the levels of participation that they're getting from their townspeople. So, interesting dialogue. Big communities are struggling with the same thing. Small ones struggling with the same thing. The message that came pretty loud and clear through GPCOG was make sure that if you have a communications person in town, that you're getting your best bang for your buck, And there's training opportunities, there's all kinds of stuff that they offer to help us understand what that role needs to look like and how effective we can expect, should expect that to be. So many communities can't afford that type of service or that type of employee. So we have that in town. We just need to make sure that it's as effective as it possibly can be. They are in the process of rolling out a program for sort of that thing that we've talked about getting people to have the ability to weigh in on local issues as they come about in town. And we're going to take a closer look at that at one of our next meetings and talk about it. It's essentially just sort of some initial polling that you can be involved in, and you can sign up for it free through GPCOG to be like a Cumberland County player right now or a Southern Maine player in the conversation about what's going on regionally. They'll be doing some of that kind of question and get some input through that system. That's alive and awake right now, and you can be involved in that. So we'll put that on our website. The takeaway was just how do we communicate with them, and goofy things from town managers that were doing little Instagram posts about the great things going on in town, to a number of communities offer office hours for select board members. Other communities offer outreach programs like we're talking about doing on May 2nd, but more frequently, once a month, a select board member or council member is at some location where people can come talk to them. So I think that's going to be part of our next dialogue as well. So it was interesting to be there. And thank them for hosting that event. So the only other thing locally is the roads are terrible. Drive safe. From just the winter conditions of frost. Please be careful, and hopefully we get a spring thaw coming up soon. Sue, quickly.
Yes, good. Tony, could you send out the schedule, again, night by night?
Yep.
Okay.
On the 24th, again, Resilience Planning will be here. It'll be an interesting meeting for them to introduce that program and what they've got going on for us for the Casco Village District. Coming right at us. I'm done. Motion to...
Then I move, we move into executive session.
Pursuant,
okay, let me find it here.
I
tried.
Nice job.
Executive session to discuss concealed weapons permits per Title 25, Part 5, Chapter 252, Section 2006, for applications 217-2026A and 217-2022B. 26B.
and executive session pursuant 1 MRSA 405, Section 6, Section E, consultation with legal counsel.
Second it.
All in favor? Thank you.